For this video, we're going to look back over everything that's going to be on our upcoming quiz, and we've been looking at rational expressions. We started with simplifying rational expressions, and for everything that we've done so far, if we have a quadratic or anything that has something in common, we have to factor, whether it's a GCF, difference of squares, grouping, whatnot. So for the first one here, x minus 2 over x squared minus 4, the x minus 2 is as simple as it gets. If anytime you have x plus or minus a number, that's it. So I'm going to leave that the same. So we're going to have x minus 2 on top. And then on the bottom, x squared minus 4, I can factor that with difference of squares. So that's going to become x plus 2, x minus 2. Then my x minus 2's cancel, so I'm left with 1 over x plus 2. For the second one, I have a quadratic on top and on bottom. So for the top one, we're going to have to do bottoms up, because there's nothing in common. There's not a GCF I can take out. So over here, we'll have 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. I'm going to multiply a and c. So we get x squared plus 5x minus 6. And I want to multiply to negative 6, but add to 5. So that's going to be 6 and 1. And I'm going to have my 6 positive, my 1 negative. Then I got to divide by my original a. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then I can't simplify 1/2, so I'm going to do bottoms up, and we get 2x minus 1. So that's going to go on the top of my fraction, x plus 3, 2x minus 1. And then on the bottom, x squared minus 9, I can do difference of squares again. So that's going to be x plus 3, x minus 3. The only thing that cancels is the x plus 3. So that leaves my final answer as 2x minus 1 over x minus 3. So we factor and then cancel out what's on top and on bottom. Multiplying and dividing, very similar to just simplifying radicals, except now we have two fractions. So whenever we multiply, we're still going to factor, cross out top and bottom, but we just go all the way across. So the x minus 3 and x plus 2, they're fine. Can't factor those. X squared minus 4, I can do difference of squares. So we have x minus 3 over x plus 2, x minus 2. Times x plus 2 stays the same. Then I have a plain Jane trinomial. So for the plain Jane trinomial, we're going to multiply to c, add to b. So I want to multiply to 9, add to negative 6. So that's going to be x minus 3, x minus 3. Then one of those x minus 3's cancels. X plus 2 cancels. So I'm left with nothing on top, so I have a 1. And then on the bottom, I have x minus 2 and x minus 3. For the second one, I'm dividing. So my first step when I divide is to flip my second fraction, because I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So it's going to become x squared plus 7x plus 12 divided, over x minus 5 times x squared minus 7x plus 10 over x squared plus 9x plus 18. Then I'm going to do the same thing we just did for that first example. I'm going to factor. So I got plain Jane trinomial, so I'm going to multiply to 12, add to 7. So that's going to be 3 and 4. So x plus 3 times x plus 4. And on the bottom, x minus 5. Can't change it. For the second one, you got to multiply to 10 and add to negative 7. So that's going to be negative 5 and negative 2. And then I want to multiply to 18, but add to 9. So that's going to be 6 and 3. Then we start canceling. So my x minus 5's cancel, x plus 3 cancels. So on top, I'm left with x plus 4 times x minus 2 over x plus 6. And that's as far as I can simplify it. And lastly, we looked at adding and subtracting rational expressions. So one thing we have to do before we can combine fractions when we're adding and subtracting is find that common denominator. So that common denominator is something that all of the factors go into. If worse comes to worse, you can always multiply all of your factors. Right? So for the first one, if I start by looking just at my numbers, I have a 3 and a 2. The number that both 3 and 2 go into is going to be 6. So my common denominator's got to have a 6 in it. And then I have x squared and x cubed. Well, the bigger variable is x cubed, so that means that my common denominator is going to be 6x cubed. To take 3x squared and get 6x cubed, I've got to multiply by 2x. And whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. And then to get 2x cubed becomes 6x cubed. My x's are good to go, so I'm just missing the 3. And again, whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So 1 times 2x is 2x. All right, and then I have the 6x squared, my common denominator on the bottom, plus 5 times 3 is 15. And then my common denominator is 6x cubed. Then I'm just going to add and combine my like terms, which neither one of these are like terms, 2x and 15. So I'm just going to rewrite it as 2x plus 15 over my common denominator, 6x cubed. Make sure we can't simplify and factor, which I can't. There's no GCF, and this not a quadratic or higher. So then my answer is going to stay 2x plus 15 over 6x. For the second one, we got to factor because I've got quadratics. So for the bottom, I have multiply to negative 12 and add to negative 1. So that's going to be x minus 4 times x plus 3. And then on the other one, I want to multiply to 9 but add to 6. So that's going to be x plus 3 times x plus 3. Right, so they both have that x plus 3 in common. So we're definitely going to have x plus 3 in our common denominator. Right, but then this one's missing the x minus 4. So it's got to have an x minus 4 in it. And then this one has 2x plus 3. So that means this one's going to have 2 x plus 3's. So my common denominator is going to be x plus 3 times x plus 3 times x minus 4. It's got to have all of these factors in that one common denominator. So then if I look at what's missing, the first one's missing another x plus 3. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom times x plus 3. Then this one's missing the x minus 4. So top and bottom times x minus 4. So then I have 2 times x plus 3. I'm just going to rewrite it. So 2 times x plus 3 over x minus 4 times x plus 3 times x plus 3. Minus 4 times x minus 4 over x plus 3 times x plus 3 times x minus 4. Okay, and then I have to distribute. So when I distribute that 2 times x plus 3, it's going to become 2x plus 6 all over that common denominator. All right, then here I have a negative 4 that I'm going to distribute, and then this is going to become plus with that common denominator. So I have a negative 4 times x is negative 4x, and a negative 4 times negative 4 is a positive 16. All right, so then I'm going to come up here, and I want to combine my like terms. So I have 2x and negative 4x, which is negative 2x, and 6 and 16 is 22. And that's over x plus 3 times x plus 3 times x minus 4. And then I've got to see if I can simplify. I do have a GCF up top, so if I take out a negative 2, it's always whatever the first sign is, that leaves me with x minus 11 over x plus 3 times x plus 3 times x minus 4. Nothing cancels, so this is going to be my final answer.